light. So, which light is that? That's this one over here. I have been,
the guiding light.
huh?
The
The
guiding light.
light. Oh, as long as I'm not too dark. But then I put too much light on me. I'm so white that, there we go. That looks good.
There you go.
But don't move around.
Yes.
I've got to get better with OBS. There we go. That looks good. I just so I use OBS, which is a software for building broadcasts. Basically, I guess is the best way to put it. So you can set up multiple windows, and you can set up scenes, and you can have it transition, and you can do all these things. And once you get everything operating, you turn it into a virtual camera, and then you feed it into here. So it's kind of interesting because the last 2 weeks I've been using my phone instead of my webcam, and I got a software installed on my phone which turns it into a webcam.
Gotcha.
And that feeds into virtually, basically, into OBS, and then I recapture it and turn it into a virtual camera that Restream can use. So I do the green screen stuff that you see here in OBS. I can put video back there. I can put pretty much anything I like back there. Let me get the chat up just in case somebody comes on and asks any questions. Jim, go ahead and introduce it, and then we'll just chat a little bit.
Okay. Well, everybody, this is Jim West and Dale Ross with the Jim and Dale talk show here. Dale, I don't know about you, but I saw a pretty good game last Friday night. You may not have seen such a good game like I did, but let's talk about your game a little bit. You went to
goodness!
saw
So
South
my game was good depending on who you are, what your allegiance is. If you are a South Mech person, not so good. If you were a Huff person, you were loving it. Jim, it's the first game that I can recall in a long time that I left at halftime.
Wow.
And when weather or nothing else, like that drove me away. It was Huff is the only thing I can say is that is one heck of a football team.
Yeah.
The way that they came out and played, I think everyone knows that they have athletes, and they have a lot of athletes, a lot of very, very, very good ball players. But they played with a focus and an intensity that I've not seen them play with in what I've seen of them this year. And quite honestly, I haven't seen quite that intensity and focus out of many teams, period. It was really at a high level that they were kind of zoned in to make, like they were there to make a statement. So, Jim, if they play like that the rest of the playoffs, ain't nobody touching them.
Right.
Poor South Mech, they had a great season. Huff jumped out quick, very quickly, big touchdown pass, first or second play of the ball game. Then they got another score, and they were up 14-0 at the snap of a finger. And then South Mecklenburg was able to drive the ball down the field and got themselves into the red zone, and then a tipped pick six. And then the next series, they got the ball, they fumbled it deep in their territory. And before you know it, that game was just gone in the first quarter. There was teams score a lot, and you certainly have the opportunity. And I've seen, I attended a game that Walt Aikens at Harding. Harding was down to Olympic 42-7, I think it was at halftime, and they came back and almost won that game. Certainly those things can happen, but you could see in this game that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
It just wasn't going to happen. It was a focused team, and as much as South Meck tried to stay focused and in the game, you could tell that they were starting to get self-defeated, or they didn't quit, but they just didn't have what I've seen them have this year. So,
Well, if you get down by, let's say, 4 touchdowns at halftime, and if you don't have the ability to score points fast, and on top of that, if your opponent has a really good front seven, it's going to be just about impossible to come back from that game. It's not going to be totally impossible, but it's almost impossible to come back.
well, that 28 was just first quarter. That didn't count the other 14 points that came, as I recall. That's why I left, because it was not an enjoyable game to watch.
Right.
I would have preferred to have seen a competitive game. I just don't like to see blowouts and extreme blowouts. That's just not. I have no dogs in fights anymore, so I don't feel great when any team is up by a lot. If back when my sons were playing, yeah, sure, it would have been great if that was their team doing that, and it would have been real hard if it had been their team getting beaten like that. So for me, it wasn't real hard. It was just like Spencer Owen was there, and he was taking pictures, and he asked me. He said it was about 5 minutes left in the first half, and he's like, "Dale," he said, "how long do you think Wing King's open tonight?" So we tried to get wings, but we could not. So
Gotcha.
and you had a pretty decent. You had a better game, I guess.
Yeah, I had a really good game, and as you know, I love good defense. I like seeing a very physical front seven. I also like seeing a secondary that knows how to disrupt play zone, play man to man, know how to disrupt the quarterback's flow.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is all about disrupting repetition flow. Trying to put something in the quarterback's mind or the offensive coordinator's mind to give them something to think about and just kind of disrupt the flow of the game. And I saw that this week. Now, don't get me wrong, it was sloppy too. At halftime, it was 0-0, and Millbrook could have probably scored a touchdown. I'm gonna say they could have probably scored as much as 10 points in the first half. The
Mm-hmm.
problem was they can't get the ball from the center to the quarterback. There was during that game there was about five or six missed snaps. That's just
I've seen so many, Jim. I've seen so many of those this year in various games. It's really amazing. Actually,
usually if you have it, it's either going to be way up or way down. This was all over the place. They could not get it.
right.
And a lot of time or a couple of times it was just timing. The quarterback wasn't ready for it, but it seems so fundamental to be able to snap the ball. But
Well,
it
that
just
sounds like the potential. I don't know, but that sounds like potentially that a backup center was snapping. If they were all over the place,
yeah.
uh, that just to me. No, my son snapped. My son was, he played center in high school, and we played shotgun, so he was shotgun snapping all the time, like 95% of the plays. And so I can tell you that that just from experience, that's kind of an indicator that it's a different kid snapping. Um, they just don't have the grasp. Usually, it's if it's the same snapper, he'll snap one high or he'll roll one back there, kind of. But they'll be within a box of the quarterback.
Right.
Uh, I see we got a question. Maybe um, we can address that before we jump into the Are You Crazy? Do you think Maiden football will beat Salisbury? Boy, Salisbury is really playing good football this year. They play good football lots of years. So Maiden's a good football team, Jim.
It is, and it's almost like where you have to be a nerd and have a pro and con list. The pro for Maiden, it's a home field game.
Yeah.
Maiden's played a really good, had a really good season this year. Uh, pro for Salisbury, they're athletic and they've played a pretty good season this year also. If I had a guess on this, I'm gonna give a slight advantage to Salisbury. But you know what? Maiden proved me wrong. I mean, go in there and just spank Salisbury like crazy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it's a tough one to pick. But that right there, I'll tell you what. That game is probably going to be settled by one or two scores either way.
I would agree with that. And I agree in that I think you got to favor Salisbury, but I don't think you count Maiden out in this game. I believe they've got all opportunity uh, to win the ball game. It could be one of those games that is a last team with the ball is able to do something with it
Right.
and score. That's the I love the. This would be a good game. This would I expect to be for a fan of football. It to be a good football game. Uh,
Right.
it'll be a nail biter for fans of particular either Salisbury or Maiden. I think there's going to be those moments
Oh, I agree.
throughout the game, and momentum. This is going to all games. I don't want to say this game is more important in that area, but all games momentum means a lot. But this is one of those. I think when you get these games, it should be very very close. Um, Certainly turnovers, some kind of big plays that can shift momentum can go a lot longer way towards the win. Um, so I think a good ball game.
Right. Oh, before I forget about that game that I saw this last week, there was not any score. 2 minutes left in the third quarter. It was still 0-0.
Hmm.
By 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Millbrook was leading 14-8. There, all the scoring was within 2 minutes of the third quarter to 8 minutes in the fourth quarter. After that, no more scoring. It was almost
Okay.
like someone turned on the faucet, water came
Uh-huh.
out, and then they turned it off. Got a cup of water, and it was gone. Um, but the
Not seeing the game, it sounds like that maybe the defenses had a couple of breakdowns that maybe contributed to those scores because it sounds like the defenses played great ball the
the
majority of the night.
pretty
And
pretty much so. I'll say this: that Millbrook they had a sustained drive, and they scored a touchdown. That touchdown was just wearing down Hillside. Hillside came back, and I think it was about a 73-yard run by the running back. He finally got to cut the corner, and his speed just took off, and it was
mhm,
off to the races. And then the next one, that Millbrook just got a worn down Hillside defense. But yeah, you're right. It was two of the three touchdowns were just defensive. But the one thing
Right.
that interested me about that game, I was expecting Millbrook to have a really good passing game, and I thought Hillside would have a very good running game. Hillside's defense neutralized that passing game of Millbrook.
Hmm.
Uh, what Millbrook has, I was more impressed with the receivers than I was with the quarterback at Millbrook. And that Millbrook quarterback has gotten, what, 2,700 yards or so. I
20,
mean,
yeah, he's had a great season.
had a great
Exactly.
season, but his receivers should get a lot of that credit right there because he has some really good receivers. And it's not just one. I'm talking about probably three really good receivers. Millbrook is a big team. They have a very good offensive line, and they also have a very good front seven. That front seven took a Hillside team that can run on just about anybody and just shut them down. Hillside is not a great passing team, so the Millbrook secondary wasn't tested that much. If there's a weakness on Millbrook is that I don't think they're going to be. I think a team that has a lot of speed can exploit them if they go vertical. But overall, that's the best team I've seen this year. That
Mhm.
Millbrook team is really good.
You know, anytime you see a quarterback with a lot of yards, he has to have good receivers because quarterback can throw the ball as well as he, you can have the best throwing quarterback there is, but if receivers can't get open, receivers can't make catches, then there's no yards there. It's You certainly can have maybe average to a little above average receivers with a great quarterback and do well, but when you start pushing that 3,000 yard mark, you got a little bit more going on than just a quarterback's arm. Um, and of course, being able to find those receivers, Jim. I mean, that still does point to being a good quarterback.
Right.
Uh, unless your number one receiver can always make his route, and you're always throwing to the whoever's number one in that particular play.
Right.
Um, then the quarterback is also looking down that tree to find that open receiver, or he's switched up because of a smart pre-snap read. So, but yeah, you can't just say that team's got a great quarterback and then discount the fact that they probably also have very good receivers as well.
Right. No, most
Yeah,
definitely. But
Reedsville's good again.
I saw the question about do you think Shelby is tough? I think Shelby is very tough, and I think
Yeah,
Raceville is. I mean, Shelby and Raceville, either one of those teams could win the state championship in 2A, and it would not surprise me at all.
exactly. Yeah, Shelby's a very very tough squad. They
Yeah.
beat Crest, right?
Right.
Um, I think Crest's only losses in the regular season was to Burns and Shelby. I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, so yeah, Shelby's always tough. Come on, uh, quarterbacks doing it up this year. Um,
Yeah. I was
that'll be
trying
a
to.
good game. I think that will be a good ball game.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. So you're gonna look at 1A together?
Yeah, let's do what we did last week. I thought
Okay.
that worked pretty well, Jim. Let's see here. I'm gonna blow the screen up so I can see this a little bit better.
Yeah. I
Maybe
did
I need
this.
to go back here to Edge and let's see here. Where's it at? Right here.
I did the same thing because I can't
Whoops,
see
I did
squat.
the wrong one. Let me get this one. Okay. And
Do you have to read rear readers still?
do I do. There's times I have to wear them. So you
Oh,
want to do the
let's do the 1As.
yeah, so you want to do the East
Yeah, let's do
first.
these first. So
Okay.
last week we had Tarboro, and I think that was who was that? Was it South? Creek or South Edgecombe or not South Edge, Southeast Halifax. Tarboro beat them 48-7. No surprise there. And Perquimans, they beat Riverside, what was it, 38-26.
Mm-hmm.
So that game kind of surprised me. I picked Riverside to win that. Now, Tarboro versus Perquimans, it's Tarboro. I'll say probably 4-6 scores. Am I sane or
You're
insane?
sane.
Sane, okay.
No, you're probably sane. That's a lot of scores, but Tarboro's Tarboro, man. I think they are the team that comes out of the East. But yeah, you're sane.
So the next game's Rosewood beat North Edgecombe 36-8. I thought Rosewood would win. I'm a little bit surprised that it was by that much. And I think it was Northampton County beat Warren County 28-0. Not surprised by that either. This
Mm-hmm.
week, Northampton versus Rosewood, that has the makings to be a great game. Uh, I'm I'm gonna take Northampton by one score. At that same point, that game could really go either way, but I think Northampton is just a little bit better, got a little bit better of a running game.
Yeah, you're sane. Um, I just when I thought about this game a little earlier today, uh, I was kind of going through my head this, Rosewood maybe being able to pull this one off, but I think you're going to have a highly competitive football game here. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're sane. I give you full sanity there.
Now going down here north, more they beat Gates County 30-8, and
Mhm.
Pender beat I believe it was West Columbus 54-6. This game, North Moore is the real deal. They have a very potent
Mhm.
offense. Pender is that part of the East where Pender is not the greatest football in 1A, but it's still not that bad. They play a lot of 2A teams, so they're somewhat battle tested. I think Northmore is just a little bit better. I'm gonna say probably between 7 to 13 points. Northmore.
Yeah, you're sane. I agree with that totally.
Now here is a battle of Beaufort County. Last week, Southside beat Kip Pride 50-0, and Northside beat Hopton 69-20. Hopton's a team that can score 73 points and still lose a game. So if you hold Hopton to 20 points, you're doing pretty good. That being said, Southside, Northside, that is going to be a fight of a game. I'm going with Northside Pinetown. I think a lot of that talent that used to go to Plymouth High Schools found themselves down in Beaufort County now. I will say Northside by 2 scores.
Two scores. Okay, that's not an insane prediction. I go with you on that. Yeah.
So I guess let's go to the West now. Eastern Randolph all over drawn 55-0, and Murphy beats Mountain Heritage 22-10. I knew that was going to be a good game, and I thought Murphy was going to handle Mountain Heritage, and but I don't know about Murphy handling Eastern Randolph. Murphy is a great team, and it's hard to pick against them in the third round in the 1As, but I am this time. I
Right.
think Eastern Randolph's a team that's like Tarboro. They play like they'd make a good 3A team. I'm taking Eastern Randolph. I'm gonna say 1 or 2 scores.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say two. So you're sane there. I think.
So North Rowan, they beat Thomas Jefferson last week, 34 to
Yeah.
28. We both of us picked that one to win, North Rowan to win,
Uh-huh.
and they're playing Robbinsville. Robbinsville beat SMC or the Smoky Mountain Conference fellow member Cherokee by a score of 46-18. That's going to be a fun game right there. And I am going to take North Rowan. I just think North Rowan has got a little bit more size, and they have uh, they have better speed in Robbinsville. Robbinsville, the big thing with them is they got really good numbers. But I'm going to take North Rowan because they have decent numbers too. A lot of times Robbinsville is a team that wears you down. I think North Rowan's going to come out with a pretty good lead and will be able to sustain it by the end of the game. I'll go North Rowan by a score.
I think you're sane because I believe this will be a highly competitive game. I might lean towards Robinsonville, but yeah, that's a very sane pick because I can definitely see North Rowan winning this game.
So going down to the bottom part of the East,
You're too
Mitchell.
sane this week, man.
Yeah, I'm staying sane here. Mitchell all over Swain County, 49-14. That just shows you how good Mitchell is. And Thomasville, they didn't even break a sweat against South Stakes, beat them 34-0. Another good game. This is a very solid game. I'm gonna
Hmm.
go with Mitchell though. I think it is going to be hard for Thomasville to go up that mountain and keep their speed. Something about going up that mountain, and you can have a fast team, but going up that mountain is like having a couple of 10-pound weights around your ankle. I'm gonna say it's a one-score game though. I'll take Mitchell though.
Okay, you're sane, but I think Thomasville.
Okay.
That's who I'm going with is Thomasville. I think they can pull. I think they can pull this off. Of course, I haven't looked to see what the weather's going to be like, but uh, the biggest thing I think for them is actually having to make the trip up, and uh, that stuff can have a little bit of wear on you. Um,
It's going to be
it's not,
cold on Friday.
yeah. So we'll
Yeah,
see, but I'm sticking with Thomasville. But I
I
think
got you.
highly competitive game. I don't know. I just maybe this is one of those where I've liked Thomasville for decades,
Right.
and right they're them Lexington. These are teams that have captured me at some point in the past, and maybe there's a little bit of that playing into this here, wanting to see them succeed. But nothing against Mitchell. That's going to be a good football game.
I agree. So Star Mounts, they held out and beat Andrews 27-20. That was a game I was kind of going back and forth. I think I actually did pick Andrews. I knew that was going to be a really close one, and
Hmm.
Mount Airy was all over East Wilkes. Did not surprise me at all. It's going to be hard for Star Mountain to be competitive against Mount Airy. I'm going to take Mount Airy by 3 scores.
I'm with you on that. This is one of the favorites to come out of the East for sure, and they're playing like it. So I mean, they hadn't been scored on in the playoffs yet.
It's interesting of the got both number one seeds, both 4 seeds still around, both 3 seeds still in, for both 6 seeds in here, both 7 seeds and both 2 seeds in there. There was only a handful of teams that we have a 12 seed in North Rowan and a number 9 seed in Murphy. Everybody else is either a 1 through 8 seed left in the 1As.
All
It
right,
kind of shows you how there's not a lot of competitiveness, a lot of deep, really strong competitors in the 1As because you'd expect with the 2A, 3A, and 4As you're going to have probably 5 or 6 teams that are going to be higher than 8 seed.
right.
Just not that much.
Well,
So
they
you want to
didn't
look.
have obviously we didn't have a full bracket of teams, and that's right there is a beginning indicator that you're not going to have a lot of competitiveness or not as much competitiveness. Say, 4A is a bloodbath, for example,
Oh yeah,
at least over here in the West. So, but yeah, Mount Airy is. I expect to see them playing next week.
oh, I agree. It's going to be a fun one.
Okay.
So let's do 2A now. And I just looked at the 2As and there were 14 of the 16 teams were either 1 seed through 8 seed. In
Uh-huh.
2As, there's only 3 of them outside of 8 seed. You got East Gaston, a 24 seed. You've got Washington as 11 seed, and you got Wallace Rose Hill as a 10 seed. So again, I think the two ways are a lot more competitive.
Two A's, two A's very competitive. I agree.
So it's going to be, but you have a couple of dominant teams like Shelby's, and you got your Reidsvilles, and Shelby and Reidsville, they might meet up, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's start on the
Yep.
East. Princeton last week beat Kinston 41-31. I knew that was going to be a good game. Nash Central kind of surprised me. I thought South Granville would handle them, but Nash Central won 13-6. Princeton versus Nash Central. That's going to be a decent game. I'm going to go with Princeton by about 2 scores, though. I think Princeton's offense is just going to be a little bit more than Nash Central can handle.
2 scores. Yeah. Okay. That's same. I agree with that margin.
Now the next one here, St. Paul's. They beat Roanoke Rapids 44-36 as Whiteville is all over James Keenan.
Yep.
And I thought that would be a competitive game, and Whiteville just wiped the floor with them.
Yeah.
St. Paul's they did struggle against Roanoke Rapids, and I don't know if St. Paul's is going to handle Whiteville's speed. I'm going to go with Whiteville in this game, but I expect it's going to be between St. Paul's strength and Whiteville's speed. I'm going to go with speed in this game. I'm going to say Whiteville by a score.
Speed. It's a hard one for me to pick because I really believe this has high potential to go either way. So you're sane in your pick. If you'd have said by 3 scores, I'd have said you were at least teal crazy. But yeah, I think you're sane, and I would lean towards Whiteville.
Thing that scares me a little bit by St. Paul's, I just don't know how strong their defense is. They seem to had a lot of trouble with Roanoke Rapids speed. Roanoke Rapids is a speedy team. So going down the list here in a grudge match, Northeastern 50, Edenton Holmes 50-0. 50-0. Holmes had 0, goose egg. Washington all over Cummings. Actually, not all over Cummings. It was 48-40. They scored 48 points though. That's a lot. Washington has a good offense, and their defense is better than what you see that score. You see 48-40. It has more to do with Cummings, just their explosive offense. Northeastern though has a great defense. I'm going with Northeastern by 2 scores, maybe 3 scores.
I was a little concerned that you were talking up Washington enough to pick them. I say concern. I would have given you that
insane if I did that.
The insane. Yeah, that's beyond Till's insane. So yeah.
Yeah, that says a lot when you get that crazy as Till. Now,
Nicholson.
Next one here, Wallace Rose Hill. I picked Wallace Rose Hill to win that game against West Craven. They won 56-21. I was very surprised, but it was by 5 scores though. I would have said 2 scores most. I think I even said 1 score. They will play East Duplin. East Duplin beat Clinton 39-22. I think I actually picked Clinton to win that game. East Duplin, Wallace Rose Hill. Those are 2 teams from Duplin County. Conference foes. Should be a heck of a good game. I'm going to go with Wallace Rose Hill, believe it or not. I'm going to say that they're going to win this by a score. They're playing a little bit more consistent throughout the year, I think, than East Duplin.
Okay, it's sane. Again, another highly competitive game, but I think I might be on the other side of the ball on this one.
Gotcha. Should be a fun game to go. If I was in Duplin County, I'd definitely go to that game. So let's go look at the West here. Shelby They handled Polk County. Polk County did good though. They scored 20 points, but I think at one time the score was something like 42-6 or something like that. But still, 42-20 Shelby.
Yeah.
Um, East Gaston over Forest View. Is that Forest? No, that's not Forest View. It was Forest Hills. East Gaston won 41-21. I knew East Gaston is strong. I picked East Gaston to win that game. I will not pick East Gaston to win against Shelby though. I see four scores victory by Shelby, maybe three scores, but it's East Gaston is good, but they're not going to handle Shelby.
Yeah, I don't know if I keep selling East Gaston short in my head. If I'm thinking, too much about where they have been recently, um, I it's hard for me to say you're insane by saying Shelby can win by that much. It really, I think this is Shelby's game.
Yeah,
It's Shelby's game to lose, and I see a three-score game at least. So four's not out of the realm of possibility. Prove us wrong, East Gaston,
yeah,
but
exactly.
it's a tough. This would be a tough game for them to be able to knock off Shelby.
Let's see here. Next one, Hendersonville. They beat Burns 38-13. That was
Good,
a
that's a good win.
that's a good win. I mean,
Yeah,
I was kind of back and forth between Hendersonville and Burns. I took Hendersonville to win that game. Um, Reidsville over Chase 56-24. I thought it would be a running score, to be honest with you. Reidsville, Hendersonville, that is going to be a great game. Both teams are kind of mirror images of each other, to be honest with you. I think Reidsville is just a little bit stronger, a little bit more physical than Hendersonville. But speed wise, I think they're pretty equal. Maybe Reidsville just a little bit better. The home field advantage is hard to win in Reidsville. I'm going to go with Reidsville by, I'm going to say 10 to 14 points, but it should be a heck of a good game. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game, though. I'd say something like 31-17 or something.
okay. I don't think you're insane, but I think the score will be a little closer. I see a one-score game.
Okay.
Um, with an opportunity for it to flip the other way. But yeah, so you're not insane.
Should be a
We
good
probably
game.
just vary by about 3 to 4 points.
And, the truth of the matter is, Hendersonville, if they can make things happen on special teams and they can win the turnover battle, they can win that game. But I think
Right.
it's going to, at the same time, Raceville could win by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
I think
Next,
that comes down to the common, keys to winning ball games, especially when you're not the favored person or team, and that's limiting your mistakes, both in penalties and in turnovers. And should you get a turnover, you need to capitalize.
right.
So you do those things, then yeah, you can shift that. What will be, I think, a close won't be a blowout. Will not be a blowout, and it can shift it the other way.
Exactly. And, the thing about it is the difference between a close game and a blowout sometimes it could be as few as 4 or 5 plays. It's
Right.
just a matter of that old lady momentum going from one way to another.
Yep.
So Maiden all over West Lincoln, 47-0. I was
Yeah.
surprised that game was a blowout like that. Salisbury, 49, Bunker Hill 0. Not surprised by that. I thought Salisbury would win that game.
Hmm.
Salisbury Maiden. This is a game that I think you're talking about just a few points. I don't think it's going to be as much. If I had to handicap this game, I'd probably give Salisbury by 4 points.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess so. Three.
it
Yeah.
The big thing though with Salisbury, their defense is not just good, but they're also fundamentally good. They know how to tackle. They know how to move bodies around. Maiden has pretty good size, maybe pretty close to the same athleticism. I just think Salisbury's been there. I think last year is a big it's a big help to win the state championship. So I'm take Salisbury.
I'm with you. I think one play can make a difference, though, in this game,
Right.
and throw it right to Maiden's way. So, uh, yeah, I'm with you. I'm picking Salisbury too, but you say 4, I say 3. Um, it's I honestly believe this is less than a 7-point game, and those kinds of games, it really only takes a play, a play here, a play there, and now you are the one that's up by the 3
Right.
to 4. You got you mistakes can be highly costly to either team in a game like this. So
I agree.
both teams have got to limit mistakes to win this ball game. And those mistakes, and by mistakes I mean big penalties. The penalties at the wrong time. A big yardage penalty at the wrong uh, sequence of plays, keeping a drive going that could have been shut down, that then turns into a score, and then of course turnovers.
Right.
That's obviously the biggest plays that you don't want to have. If you get a turnover in this game, I'll go ahead and say if a team gets a turnover in this game and they capitalize on it, that's going to be your winner.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you on that.
And it's only going to be one, so we'll see what happens. Well,
No,
here's a good game.
oh yeah,
I'm sorry.
I agree with you. A little history about Monroe. They're what you call a yo-yo. 2005 to 2008, they were 2A. 2009 to 2012, they were 1A. 2013 to 2016, they were 2A. 2017 through 2020, they were 3A, and now they're back at 2A where they belong, if you ask me.
Right.
Monroe all over J.M. Robinson, 60-29.
That one
I
surprised
thought
me.
I thought Monroe would win that game, but I did not think
Yeah.
that they would score 60 on a good
No,
team like
I
that.
did not think it would be that big of a gap, to be honest. Though that's not a terrible gap. It's at that margin that I call blowout, which is 21 points, and
Right.
uh, I'm really surprised at giving up 60 points. But Monroe's got speed and athletes, and
Depth.
that's a team right there that's you can see them playing in the final week of the season.
Right. So they're going to play East Surrey. East Surrey beat Forbush 37-20. About what I thought would win. I thought East Surrey would handle them by about 3 scores or so. This game, though, I'm taking Monroe, and I think Monroe's speed, their athleticism is going to be too much for those guys over Pilot Mountain. 1 or 2 scores, so I'll take Monroe.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm picking Monroe as well.
Should be a should be a fun game for Monroe, but and the only thing that's a factor about it though, that game is going to be at Pilot Mountain. If the weather is
Right.
bad, and if they have to shorten the fields, that could play in East Surrey's hands. So that could neutralize it. So we'll keep an eye on that game.
They're gonna see speed though.
Yeah, I agree.
Monroe's always a fast team. Okay. Well, let's go to 3A.
All right, 3A. Let's see here. Let me get on there myself.
Are there any questions coming up? I haven't
So
I've
David.
stayed on this screen, so
David says he thinks Tarboro will win the state. I think they'll go to the state championship game. Actually, I'm gonna say I'm about 90% sure they'll go to the state championship game.
uh-huh.
If Tarboro plays Eastern Randolph, I think it's a coin flip. I think that much about Eastern Randolph.
Yeah, I'm definitely believe that the Tarboro's ones that come the one that comes out of the east, and they're my pick to win it. But I think it'll be it will be a tough ball game in the state championship. But
Well,
I'm
here's one for you. Eastern Alamance, who's a number 1 seed in the 3A. They
mhm.
played Eastern Randolph beginning of the season, and Eastern Randolph won that game. That's kind of like the eye-opening
Yeah,
experience on that one. That's
gotcha.
the reason why I think Eastern Randolph is a kind of a coin flip with Tarboro at this point. But it's
No,
going to be a good game.
I'm with you. I don't disagree with that.
So let's look at the 3A East. Eastern Alamance, they had a pretty good win against Havelock, won 21-6. And Westover, they beat I think was it North Brunswick? Yeah, North Brunswick 40-21. This game is not that far from me. This is probably might be my B game to go to.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna take Eastern Alamance by a couple scores. Probably 2 or 3 scores. I think Westover is a good team, but I think Eastern Alamance is pretty special. If they can beat Havelock, hold Havelock to 6 points. That speaks a lot about their defense.
Sane. Yeah, you're sane. I agree. I agree with your margin and everything.
Now here's the next game, good game here. Lee County, they beat Southern Nash last week, 42-24. Jacksonville just held on to beat Hunt, beat them 21-20. Jack Hunt was a number 4 seed also, so let's keep that in mind. Lee County, Jacksonville, that's going to be another one of those games that I'm going to say within 3 points. I think either one of those teams could win that game. I'm thinking something
Hmm.
maybe like 27-25 or
Right?
28-25. I'm going to go with Lee County. I think home field advantage might be the key here.
Yeah, that was what that meant. I'm with you on that, and I believe it'll be a one-score game. I
Right.
can see a one-score game.
So let's go on down a little bit here. 71st, they beat Williams 29-28, and I was shocked by the closeness of that score. Rose beat Terry Sanford. I think I picked Terry Sanford to win that game. Rose won 34-28. 71st versus Rose. 71st is just not playing that great of football at this point. I'm going to still go with 71st, but I'm hesitant about this. I'll say it's a one-scored game, but it's one of those things that the mind and fundamentals says that 71st would win, but my heart's saying Rose is might be the team to look out for this one. But I'm going to take 71st. I've got some cognitive dissonance on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw me shaking my head because I don't know. I think 71st is a favored team. Going to be a very competitive game. It's going to be a less than 7 point game. Um, I can't. I don't know. It's hard for me to. I want to pick Rose. Is who I want. I'm gonna pick Rose. I'm not
Okay.
like say I want to. I'm gonna pick them because I don't know. I just got a feeling. But,
Usually my heart and head pretty much are on the same mindset or
yeah,
same pattern.
watch them turn around and lose by 2 scores. But
But as the thing about it is that was where my mind says 71st, heart says Rose. Now next game here, Scotland
hmm.
County, they beat or Scotland I should say, they beat West Carteret 41-21, and
Hmm.
Northern Nash beat Smithfield Selma 39-21. I'm going with Scotland on here. I think Scotland is the war road warriors. Northern Nash is a very good team. Don't get me wrong about this. This is going to be a very close one. But Scotland's been there. They've done that. They've got the coaching. Richard, Coach Richard over Scotland. He's one of the best ones. Richard Bailey, and I'm going with Scotland in this game. I think I
Yeah.
don't think it's an upset for this 23 team to beat this number 2 team.
Did you see my
No,
bagpipe thing when you were
no.
talking? Yeah, right when you came into it, I did the little bagpipe thing. Yeah.
I was preaching to the choir or singing to the choir here.
Yeah, because I think that 23 is just highly misleading for who they are, because you look at who they've played. Um, and I'm all over Scotland on this. Yeah. So you're saying,
So we'll go down to the west here. Oh gosh, this is gonna be a good game. South Point versus
yeah,
Forest
that's
View.
going to be a great game.
Grudge match, Gaston County. South Point just wins, plays good enough to win games. They beat Eastern Guilford earlier on, 41-31. Beat Pisgah this last week, 27-24. Forest View, they held on to beat Parkwood 20-17. This is another one where my mind and heart are in dissonance. My heart says South Point. My mind says South Point. My heart says Forest View.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick South Point again. At the same time, it's one of those things where I'm kind of shaking my head, saying, I'm not going to be surprised if Forest View wins this game, but another
Yeah.
close match.
So that will be a major stepstone for Forest View
Right.
to beat South Point here at this point in the playoffs. I think that would be a huge win for Forest View, and I'm see, I'm just like you. I think technically on paper, you pick South Point, but you know how teams can sometimes get magic,
Right.
and I think it'll take a little magic for Forest View to win. But I'm gonna call them getting some kind of magic this week, because I just see a big opportunity for that school to be able to step up and slap the Raiders, who, by the way, I saw. Did I see it today or yesterday? There was a protest taking place, looked like by some students, about the use of the Red Raider name. It's this week, and I think it was today. I think I saw it this morning in the news that came across. But anyway, uh, I'm going with Forest View. I think I'm the insane one here, but I don't think it's too high insanity.
Tell you what, Coach Medlin, he is a smart guy. Just want to let you know about that. He is. I went to
Yeah.
school with Coach Medlin. We were the same year. We lived on the same floor, the same dorm, Hitton James. That dorm had 975 students, and I was on the 8th floor on the volleyball side with Coach Medlin. He was just 2 suites down from me. Super nice guy, but I'll tell you what, he is a bright mind, and he's somebody who doesn't get flustered at all. He is a very even kill guy. So
Well, I think he's
next,
going to need to be Friday night. I think he's going to need to have a good scheme and a little bit of lady luck. They're going to have to bring it. They're going to have to try to force a turnover. I think they're going to need a turnover in this game. They're going to need to play not flawless football, but they're going to need to play very good football. And they
I
can win this game.
also think if there's bad weather, it might help Forest View a little bit in that game for some reason.
Really.
I think I don't know if South Point's still doing that. Was it the flex bone or red bone or whatever
Red
type of?
bone. Red bone. Yes.
But
Triple option stuff.
sometimes if you have a
All
wet
that triple
field,
option with different names, So,
if you have a wet field, something about the triple option can get. It's like playing with a bar of soap out there in the.
well, the thing about triple option is if you don't start in bad weather, you need to start dropping down and thinking about taking the pitch out of it. But then again, as long as you don't have that, like you say, a bar of soap. There's advantages for the offense in those kinds of situations as long as they can hold on to the ball, and that's that they know where they're going. And the defense has to react, especially in an option offense. Especially when you got everybody's got an assignment in option football, and you stick to your assignment, even if you're positive the ball's not going to go to that guy. You still have to stick to your assignment, and when guys don't, they have to. And it happens in high school. That's why they've been rather successful. Then you got to make that adjustment, and it's hard to adjust. Get your hips turned around, or your feet and your hips turned around, and the field's going out from under you, and the backs and the quarterback. Everybody knows where they're going, and so I think it's a two-way street, kind of. It is
Right.
As far as definitely that ball becomes very slick, and even handoffs can become treacherous. But I don't know how much. I haven't seen how much weather we're supposed to have, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
we'll see what happens. I think it's supposed to come in tomorrow night. So
What a
hopefully
great
be.
place to play football, though. And
Oh yeah,
Forest View is very familiar with that venue, so
yeah. So
not
going
their
down the
first.
list here, North Davison, they beat Hickory 31-28. That was
Uh-huh.
one that I knew it was going to be close. I think I picked North Davison. I can't remember if I did or Hickory, but
I
I think I
think you
picked North.
did. I
Well,
think,
I kind of wavered on that one. I was kind of wanted to
yeah.
going back and forth on that. But Crest beat West Rowan 28-15. Wasn't surprised by that. Crest North Davison. I'm gonna take Crest in this game. I'm gonna tell you why. I think Crest. I think their coaching is just outstanding. I think they're playing really good football right now too. Uh, they're they're not killing themselves. I mean, sometimes you have a good team that can't get out of their own way. They end up being their worst enemy. Crest is they're playing fundamentally sound ball right now. I'm gonna take
Hmm.
North Davis, or I'm gonna take Crest over North Davison by I'm gonna say probably between 8 to 12 points.
So kudos to West Rowan, because I think we both felt like that would have been a three-score game
Right.
last week, and I don't know enough of the details of the game, but it's a little closer. No surprise, Crest won that ball game, and I'm I'm calling you sane because I'm picking Crest here as well.
Gotcha.
You come out of Cleveland County, it's just too good a football. I don't know that people in the state really realize how good that football is in Cleveland County, and not just the teams, but the environment. I mean, they have great teams there, and they have great environment, and that's going to be a fun environment. I think Friday night.
Well, to beat a good team that's from Cleveland County, you got to have a really good team. You got to have a really good, well coached team. You got to have. It always helps to have that home field advantage. And
Hmm.
also happens to have a good fish fry. And we're going to go to the next game here. Dudley's hosting Kings Mountain, and Dudley last week beat Ledford 53-10. Kings Mountain, I was kind of going back and forth on that game. I think I picked Kings. No, did I? No, I picked West Charlotte.
We both picked West Charlotte.
We picked West Charlotte.
Let's own up to our.
Yeah, let's do that. We picked West Charlotte on that. I was kind of going back and forth. I knew there was going to be a really close one on that, but I picked West Charlotte. Dudley
So
Kings Mountain.
this is not an excuse to cover for us missing it, but West Charlotte lost three defensive starters Wednesday, and so that did play a huge part in the ball game. West Charlotte just could not stop Kings Mountain. They had a very, very difficult time when it came to smash mouth football, which so Kings Mountain, kudos to you guys. It's a
Agree.
good win, even if they were down 3 starters. That's still a very, very, very good win. Um, and I'm in a I don't like seeing West Charlotte lose for my buddy Sam Griner, but on the other hand, I'm a Kings Mountain fan, uh, and I'm one of those that wants to see Kings Mountain at some point make a deep, 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 deep run all the way to the finals. But man, look who they're up against, Jim.
Yeah, I want to say right now, Dudley. I picked Dudley to win this game. To me, Dudley might be the best team in the 3As, at least in the West. I think having that home field advantage, playing at Tarpley Stadium, which there's some Division II colleges don't have as good a stadium as Tarpley.
Yeah,
You got a great atmosphere, great cheerleadings. You got a great band, and you got great seafood. Oh my gosh! If you like perch, you got to go to that game. That is some good stuff. It's intoxicating, and I think it plays in the minds of the opponents because they're thinking more about that fish than they are about who's going to cover the A gap. And I'm going to take Dudley to win this one by a couple scores.
the perch through the A gap. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, I, I think in all fairness that on paper Dudley is the team to win this ball game. It's hard to see it being a nail biter game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I do think it's a manageable win game for Kings Mountain, but they're going to have some things go right for them in this game. And maybe some of those things are that Dudley finds a way to make some mistakes. I think Dudley is maybe not just the best team in the West, but they might be the best team in the 3A. They're a very, very good team. So you're sane in your pick.
I'm sorry about that.
Let's see Kings Mountain make a ball game of it, and there won't be any dragging in this game. I'll say that. Dragging the other team around that will not happen.
Yeah. So here's another great game here coming up. High Brighton. They beat Concord. I talked to some people. They said that Concord High Brighton game could have been they thought it was going to be a coin flip, and I picked High Brighton to win. I just thought they were tougher than Concord. And Statesville, they won 42-3. 42-3. I mean, this is against a pretty decent East Lincoln team. It's hard to go against Statesville at this point. I know High Brighton is they got a name, but they're not in 2A anymore. They're in 3A. I also think Statesville is just so athletic. It is time for their due. I think this is going to be a great game for Statesville. I think it's a good matchup for Statesville also. I'm going to take Statesville by 2 to 3 scores.
Yeah, I don't think it's insane to pick Statesville at all in this game. They're my pick, and I would think 2 scores is what. That's my call. It's 2 scores. It's a 2-score game. So you're saying?
All right. I don't think I've been called out for being insane the whole.
No. Last week you had running score games and games that I didn't know that would be. I don't even remember which ones those were. So it might have ended up being right. I don't know. Okay.
Well, tell you what, talking about being wrong is that very first game in the 4A East.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one, Jim. I was wrong on that too.
I saw Louisville Road struggle against a good but not great Southern Durham team. I saw where they were down 2-0 at half against Southern Durham. I did not think Louisville Road had that great of an offense. I thought they had a pretty good defense, but not a great offense. Leesville Road, they pulled an upset. I mean, there's no way around it. Beating Richmond County 19-14 is an upset, and they get to play Nightdale. Nightdale pulled off an upset also. They beat Pine Forest 26-14, which kind of shows you Wake County is underrated this year. There's some good football played in Wake County. It is
Yeah.
highly competitive.
So I agree. We'll
But
see how competitive it is as it gets on to the big game. But yeah.
I don't think
Uh,
this game is going to be that competitive, though. The only thing that might happen is if Leesville Road has a letdown after that big game.
mhm.
I doubt with Coach Kolstad, who's been to a state championship game before, that he's going to allow that to happen. Kolstad, by the way, is he lives probably I'm gonna say probably 7 minutes from my house here. He's a good fella, and but I won't take Leesville Road. Probably 2 or 3 scores on that. Nightdale proved me wrong.
Yeah, I think you're saying. I think what's cool about this for uh, Leesville Road is that they were able to play themselves back into a home game.
That's right.
By knocking off the number one. Um, so, way to go on that one.
Exactly right. Another team that got to play themselves back into a home game, Millbrook. They beat Hillside. I saw that game last week. Millbrook score won 14-8.
Hmm.
A game where I was looking for a great passing game versus a good running game. Instead, I saw a great secondary versus a great front seven, and the great front seven beat this great secondary. Uh, they will play Rolesville. Rolesville, and I picked Rolesville to beat New Bern, beat them 69-49. This
Hmm.
game has got a makings to be a really good one. Uh, Rolesville is playing really good football right now. They are better than your average number 20 seed. And last year they went to the 4AA state championship game. They have been there before. Got great coaching.
Yep.
I'm going with Rolesville, and
Oh.
I think Rolesville is going to win. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be within a touchdown. But I think Rolesville is just that tough. I think that they are getting tougher and tougher by the week. Beating New Bern at New Bern by 20 points, scoring 69 points
Hmm.
against New Bern is incredibly impressive on that. Good game. The game could go either way, but I'm going to take Rolesville in this one.
All right, you're saying, but I'm on the other side of the ball
Okay.
on this one. I'm picking Millbrook.
Gotcha.
Again, I think it'll be. I'm like you. I believe it'll be probably inside of one score.
Cleveland all over Laney, 62-20.
Yeah.
They will
Wow.
play Cardinal Gibbons, who beat Heritage 56-24. Cleveland is so athletic. Cardinal Gibbons is so well versed in the fundamentals. I think you can be as fundamental as you want to, but if you have a team that's as strong as Cleveland, to say all the techniques going to stop the best play, I'm going to take Cleveland. Probably 2 scores in this game, but should be
I'm
a
with
good one.
you. I'm with you on that. Cardinal Gibbons, you can bring great position football against athletic and speedy teams, but Cleveland has started to impress me the last 2 weeks. Really impressed me. So yeah,
And
you're saying as sane can be.
so already we got three. I'm already picking two Wake County teams and a Johnson County team, which is right next to Wake County. Uh,
Well, what you gonna do here?
Next one here, Hoggard beat Southview 6-0, and Panther Creek beat Wakefield 14-13. Panther Creek are the Road Warriors. They beat
Yeah.
us, already beaten Southern Alamance. Then they just beat Wakefield, was a number 2 seed.
We picked Wakefield, as I remember. I
You're right
remember
about that.
talking about that game, and yeah, we picked Wakefield in that game.
And I can't
Wait,
remember.
you remember Panther Creek did this last year in the last season, we should say.
Right.
It was this year, but last season they made that great run and lost to Myers Park in the third round, which would this time be what, fourth round, I guess. But
Right.
yeah, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This game here, I'm gonna. I've already picked against Panther Creek twice. I'm not gonna pick against them again. I think Panther Creek will beat Hoggard. One
Ooh,
score game.
wow. I think I picked against Panther Creek in every game back last. Maybe not every game, but I picked against them in the Olympic game. And I picked against them in the Myers Park. Now they did lose the Myers Park game, but you know what? They were in that game. Um, Picked against them last week. I really thought Wakefield would win that by several scores, and here they are playing this week. And I'm going to pick against them again. I think you're sane, but I'm picking against you and them. We'll see what happens.
Well, that one, my heart was going for Panther Creek, and my head was going for Hoggard. Most time I'll let my head decide it, but this time I'll let my heart go.
Yeah, my
Really,
head's deciding this one. My head's going to be wrong. You watch, but that's okay. My head was wrong last week when they and they pulled what I think to be a pretty big upset. Not as
right.
big as Richmond losing, but because I really thought Richmond. Wow, I had Richmond uh, most having an excellent chance at least being in the regional final and probably playing the final game. So that got blowed up.
Yeah, you got that right. So we're going down to, I guess we're going to the west now. Huff, they beat Southern Meck 42-7, and Mallard Creek went to the mountain, beat Asheville 13-12.
Hmm.
Mallard Creek, they're playing better, but I'm not going to pick Mallard Creek in this game. I'm picking Huff. I'm going to say 2 to 3 scores on this one. Could be even more. I think if Huff really wanted to get angry, they could really, if they get really motivated, it could be really ugly really fast.
This is going to have everything to do with does Huff look, and we'll watch your screen. Are they, looking ahead
Yeah.
and into what may be coming up, which would be uh, a matchup with those guys? Do they overlook Mallard Creek? They beat Mallard Creek earlier. Um, Mallard Creek pulled off the win. I actually thought Mallard Creek would have won last week by a little more. I had them for 2 to 3 scores. They actually had to come from behind to win that ball game. Um, I think they were down 12-0, and which is great. I mean, that's certainly a momentum thing for the team to be able to go up on that mountain and into a pretty hostile environment and be down late in the game and come back and win. That's huge. But if Huff comes out and if Huff plays like they played this past Friday night, it ain't going to be close. It's not going to be nice. But if Huff is off key because they feel like they got the game won before they play it, and Mallard Creek has got some high off of that win up at Asheville, they can make a ball game of it. But it's going to require those kind of combinations. The chefs in the kitchen there for Huff's going to have to be called in sick, I think, for that chemistry to get messed up is what
Right. Totally agree
because
with you.
they look really good. But good luck, Mallard Creek. You
Yeah,
know,
Mallard Creek proved me wrong.
yeah, exactly. Prove us wrong.
So
Okay.
next one, Glenn beat Myers Park 54-53. That is a big emotional win right there for Glenn. And East Forsyth, they beat Ardrey Kell 17-0. I was highly surprised Ardrey Kell got skunked like that.
I am too.
This is
Not
a
surprised East Forsyth won, but I'm a little surprised that Audrey Kell didn't put points on the board. And I was foreseeing a game in the 20s to 20 something to teens something or something like that. Upper 20s to low 20s. I was thinking it was going to be a one score game, and I kind of thought Audrey Kell had a chance to win the game. Um, so anyway, go back to this game, Jim.
Now Glenn. I thought that Myers Park would beat Glenn, but I thought it was going to be a close one. This one right here. This is the Battle of Kernersville. Both of these teams are in Kernersville. I am going to go with East Forsyth in this game. I think they're playing really good football. Obviously, they played the last 8 quarters without allowing the opposition to score. Glenn, they know how to score. They know how to win a close game with just a few points, like they did against Providence, and they know how to bet on their roller skates, like they did against Myers Park. I think East
Hmm.
Forsyth is playing a little bit more solid, a little bit more consistent right now. I'm gonna go for East Forsyth by a score.
Yeah, I think East Forsyth by 1 to 2 scores is where I'm going. I'm basing mine a lot off of head-to-head stuff, and you look at Glenn playing Myers Park, and within the conference that Myers Park and Ardrey Kell was in, all the teams played within a score of each other.
Right.
Three to just a handful of points of each other. And you come in and you look here and you see that East Forsyth really kind of handled Ardrey Kell more so than I thought they would. I don't know the details of that, and I know this is different team, different. I know all about how teams match up differently against other teams, and one of the big things that's surprising is that Myers Park scored 53 points. Because they've really been struggling putting points on the board this year.
Right.
And what's surprising is that they gave up 54 because they've done a very good job this year of defense. So I don't know what that tells us about Glenn and their offense.
Well, 4 weeks
But
ago, these East Forsyth and Glenn played, and the game went in overtime, and East Forsyth won 44-38 at East Forsyth.
mhm.
So I expect a very competitive game here. I think it's not really how you drive, but how you arrive. At least that's how it is in golf. I think it is with football with momentum.
I think
Uh,
so.
and the better you play the end of the season, the better you are. So
I remember that they won, but I did not remember it was an overtime game. But I'm East Forsyth, 1 to 2 scores.
gotcha. So let's go down to the bottom half of the West here. Weddington, they held on to beat Marvin Ridge 41-31.
Yep.
And Cuthbertson, you picked Cuthbertson, I picked Lake Norman. Cuthbertson won 31-14. I double dog dare you to pick Cuthbertson in this game. I'm picking Weddington.
Well, see, the reason I picked Cuthbertson is I have seen them,
Right.
and I saw, I see a lot of. So I guess since we're talking about in the past, I saw a lot of potential in that team, um, and they had a rough start to the season, and they've kind of smoothed it out. What the interesting thing that I find with this game is Weddington and Marvin Ridge, and actually, if we, you look at these teams, um, all these teams in Cuthbertson, these teams know each other, and so now you get to this Weddington Cuthbertson, they both know each other. And here's the thing about knowing Weddington. you know that you're getting a solidly coached football team,
Right.
fundamentally sound football team. So they don't make a lot of mistakes. They are a smash mouth team. They have athletes as well. So they got Weddington's a team that's kind of got everything that you want going for a state champion. They've got all of that stuff. And Cuthbertson is kind of the younger brother looking up,
Right.
from that area. And I'm afraid that it's the younger brother's the 8-year-old, and the older brother's the one that's getting ready to go to college.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it.
So yeah, I think this is going to be this would be an exceptionally tough game for Cuthbertson to win.
Yeah.
Man, the number of things that I think would have to go right, and they can. It's football, but too many things going to have to go right for them to win this game, and actually for them to keep this game from getting outside of a 2-score game.
Right. I totally agree with you on that. It's going to be a fun game for Union County people to watch. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for Cuthbertson, but I think Weddington will win this game. Now, there's another Union County team that's playing in the 4A's, Porter Ridge. They
Oh
beat
man, yep.
they beat
Mm-hmm.
Grimsley. That surprised me. They beat them 41-27. I was actually expecting Grimsley to give Julius Chambers a big fight for their money, and I thought Grimsley would match up good against Chambers, but Porter Ridge is the team, and it's like I tell people football is not linear. Team A can beat Team B, and Team B can beat Team C, and then Team C could beat Team A by a comfortable margin. It's not linear. I'm taking Julius Chambers. I think this is a good game for them. I think Chambers also has a lot to prove to the rest of Mecklenburg County that they want to play Huff for a state championship or for a regional final. I'm going with Chambers by 2 scores.
So in the last week when we talked about Porter Ridge, and really I'll just talk about this week because this is what matters. And what I just said about Weddington applies to Porter Ridge. A lot of the things that I just said apply to Porter Ridge. Fundamentally sound football, not quite as athletic as a Weddington. To beat a Chambers is going to have to view this as a win before they start playing, and play it like it's a win before they start playing. I think the advantages for Porter Ridge in this game is that I think they're a more fundamentally sound team than Chambers is, meaning they'll make less mistakes.
Right.
Certainly when it comes to penalties, I think that Chambers has the athletes and the size and the speed to create mistakes, as in fumbles and maybe some bad decisions. They can disrupt that fundamental football because they've got the athletes that can do it. So this is one of those games that really it's going to require quite a few things to go right for Porter Ridge to win this ball game. I'm not going to be surprised that this game is a 2-score game. Within 2 scores, meaning Chambers wins by 2 scores. That's not going to surprise me, even if it got into that 10-point range. I think Porter Ridge has potential, but they need a couple of keys, and it's going to be hard to get those keys. Very, very hard.
I agree. So I know that Richmond County was probably they were probably my favorite to come out of the East, or one of my favorites.
Yeah.
With them out of the East, let's take a quick look on the East about the remaining teams left. We got one, two, three, four. We got 8 teams left.
Yeah.
Um, to me, the my favorite team out of those 8 teams is going to be Cleveland's. I think
Yeah.
they're,
That's where I was turning to. Mine too. How about that?
and I also think if Cardinal Gibbons can beat Cleveland, Cardinal Gibbons would be the next favorite. I think it's Cleveland 1, Cardinal Gibbons 2. It just happens to be the best 2 teams are playing each other tomorrow night.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can't see it coming from here, and I think it's difficult to see it coming from here. Um, I really do. I think if anybody comes from here, I believe it would be Millbrook, and I just think these are probably the 2 best teams left in the East right here.
Let's give a
Um,
let's give a shout out to the Road Warriors up in the top of this bracket. Leesville Road went on the roads and beat Richmond County. Nightdale went on the road and beat
yeah,
Pine Forest. Millbrook went on the road and beat Hillside, and
mhm.
Roseville went on the road and beat Newbern. You don't see that very often.
Yeah. I hadn't really thought about that till just now. That's pretty sweet. I mean, this one right here, Richmond, that was the shocker to me. So if there was a shocker, that was a shocker. That was more of a shocker than Huff smacking South Mecca around. I just really did not. I really expected Richmond to roll all the way to the finals.
I was looking out for the rest of the Road Warriors in the 4As. Panther Creek, they beat Wakefield last week.
Yeah.
Mallard Creek went on the road and beat Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
East Forsyth went on the road and beat Ardrey-Kell.
Yeah.
Cuthbertson went on the road and beat Lake Norman. Uh, Chambers went on the road and beat Hickory Ridge, and Porter Ridge went on the road and beat Grimsley. I mean, that just shows you how tough 4A is.
Right. Yeah. So Chambers was able to play themselves back into a home game.
Right.
Uh, but I don't think beating Hickory Ridge was, in no way do I consider that an upset.
Me
Uh,
neither.
I do, I do think the score's higher than the spread is a little bit higher than I thought it would be. I thought we had a 1-score game here, maybe 1-2 score, and we got a blowout. Again, 21 point. Though that doesn't look like a blowout, and that's no disrespect to Hickory Ridge. It's just that I call any 3-score game. That's my mark for a blowout because it's hard to overcome, 21 points late in the game. Asheville did it. No, remember Asheville Concord,
Yes.
2003, 4,
Was it that? Gosh, has it been that long
3,
ago?
4, or 5? It was one of those years, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
I think so.
I mean, it was right there in that era of Easy was still coaching, and they were rolling to state, championships. Concord, that is.
Right.
But that was one of those games that a big comeback in the final 5 minutes. But yeah, a lot of teams did go on the road and win. Some of the games not so surprising that they won, but
Now, looking at the 4A West, I do think the West is tougher than the East, but
without question, yeah.
I think it's going to come down between Huff, Weddington, and Chambers. I think Huff is the best of the 3 teams. So right now, I could see Cleveland versus Huff in the state championship game.
I can see that. I can see also a Weddington beating a Chambers. Now I'm just talking about when they meet
Right.
when the teams meet. It's just from what I saw the other night is I think it's going to be hard to beat Huff. Huff plays that kind of football. They're going to be a hard team for anybody to play with.
Right.
And I like Cleveland now, especially now that Richmond's out. It's almost like the upper part of that bracket just got cleared for those guys.
Tell you what, do you mind looking at 3A again? And I just want to look at the favorites on there because I think 3A. I know who I'm gonna take on the West, but I'm not exactly sure who I take in the East.
In the East, well, yeah, Eastern Alamance, um, Lee County, 71st, and Rose and Scotland. I like Scotland.
Yeah.
I like Scotland, and I like Scotland coming out of here, and then oh
In
man,
the West, I'm taking Dudley.
in Eastern Alamance, yeah, and in the West, I think Dudley's got to be the first pick.
And I'll say that Dudley Statesville game is going to be a heck of a game, and heck,
Yeah,
the in the top
Statesville
part of
can
that,
win that game too. I think. I think that's
right?
not a. Yeah,
It's
we'll
not a
have to see what
gimme,
happens. Have
right?
to see what happens this week. You gotta. It's hard to. It's hard to see, but man, Kings Mountain. They could get their magic rolling.
Oh, I agree.
Those Mountaineers, man. It's gonna be a tough. That'd be tough. It's gonna be tough for anybody to beat Dudley.
The thing with the
So
3A is, I think it's just so hard for anybody to look past one rounds in the 3As at this point, especially in the East because Eastern
yeah.
Alamance Westover. I mean, Eastern Alamance to me is moderately favored Westover. Lee County Jacksonville is a toss up, and whoever wins that game is going to be a toss up against Eastern Alamance.
Mm-hmm.
71st Rose is basically a coin flip.
Yep.
Scotland's favored over Northern National. I think Scotland's better than 71st or JH Rose. But and Scotland, they've played. I know they're 7-4, but they play in a very tough
No,
3A,
very
4A
tough
conference.
conference. That's right.
Yes, I mean when you have to play Lee County, you got to play Pinecrest, you got to play Richmond County.
Yep.
I mean that's tough right there. Um, I'm going. I'm gonna say Scotland, and it's going to be between Scotland, Lee County, Jacksonville, and Eastern Alamance. I don't see any one of those teams better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe go with Eastern Alamance just because John Kirby has the home field advantage as long as he wants it.
Gotcha. That's a safe pick. I'm not.
Yeah, so this is a tough bracket to
For me, I'm
figure out.
picking Scotland, but
You can't go wrong with that either because I think Scotland's the better of the bottom four.
Eastern Alamance certainly is not a bad. That's not a bad pick, and I mean a safe pick is Eastern Alamance and Dudley playing in the.
Right. Now looking at the two ways, I'm just kind of looking at the East right now on the two ways. Um, let's see here. I think from the East in the two ways is going to be the bottom of the bracket. I think it's going to be between Northeastern, Wallace Rose Hill, and East Duplin. I'd say Northeastern is
Mm-hmm.
probably the favorite. And in the West, can't go wrong against Shelby Reedsville. It's hard to pick against Salisbury or Maiden at this point. It's hard to pick against Monroe. I mean, that West is
Yeah,
they got
the West
one,
is
two,
stacked.
3, 4, 5 teams in the West that could come through on that.
I
I'm
agree.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be the winner of Shelby Reedsville. I think will play Monroe, and I'd like to see that Shelby Reedsville game. I think that's going to be a fun game to go to. Can you imagine those two teams play each other? Um, I can't remember if they played each other when the last time they played each other, but because usually Shelby for a long time was big 2A and Reedsville was small 2A.
Yep.
And back when Reedsville was big 2A, Shelby would be small 2A. So it's just hard for those two teams to line. Sometimes Reedsville would actually go out to the east, so most of the time they're west. But I think Shelby, Reedsville, I'll give Shelby just the slightest advantage. But I'll tell you right now, Hendersonville would not shock me at all if they beat Reedsville. So
I'm with you. I think if I were to pick an upset here in the West, if there could be an upset, who's got the best opportunity at upset? And
Hendersonville. I mean, Monroe's a number 7 seed, and I think they're going to win the next 2 games.
so you say Hendersonville.
To me, Hendersonville's a sleeper.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just looking, just making sure I'm getting everybody in my head here. And
And another team in the
yeah,
East that's a sleeper is Whiteville. I mean, nobody's talking about Whiteville at all. I mean, they just kind of walked in as a 4 seed. They've beaten their last 2 teams by a combined score of 112-0.
yeah,
And I mean, it's just, I mean, Camden County, they're usually a 1A school. Now they're 2A. Beat them 56-0. James Keenan, they teeter between 1A and 2A. Beat them 56-0. I don't think Whiteville's going to beat St. Paul's by 56-0, but I do think they're going to win that game. But Whiteville's just been kind of keeping under the radar. Princeton hasn't though. I mean, Princeton went from 1A to 2A, and I mean they've pretty much been in the rankings about number 1 or number 2 the whole season. So nobody can say that they've been under the radar. They've been right in the spotlight.
uh-huh.
But I just don't think Princeton's going to handle Northeastern or Wallace Rose Hill or East Stapleton, whoever wins out of the bottom half.
Yeah, gotcha.
And let's just look at the 1As one last time. And out of the East, Tarboro is the team to beat in the 1A East. I don't think there's anybody that can deny that.
That's my pick.
The only team that I'd like to see them play against would be Northside Pinetown. If Northside Pinetown can keep Tarboro within 2 scores, that's a good game for Northside. But the West, I mean, Eastern Randolph has to play Murphy. I think they'll win that game. North Orleans, Robbinsville, either one of those teams would have to go play Eastern Randolph. Robbinsville has still got that name. North Orleans, not a
Yeah,
name, but a good team. Then you go down the bottom part: Mitchell, Thomasville, Starmount, Mount Airy. Mount Airy is a darn good team. I did see one of our guys, I think Tom Dula, said he could see Mount Airy beating Eastern Randolph. It's hard to see anybody beating Eastern Randolph, but I think if a team could, it'd be Mount Airy.
I can agree. That's a good football team.
Yeah.
And I would say out of this, I mean that's a safe pick. Right here's a potential dark horse, Thomasville.
Right.
Again, it's that personal stuff, I guess. But
I mean,
I wish
Thomasville,
this.
they were
I'm
dominant
sorry.
in 1A. 20 years
Yep.
ago, 15 to 20 years ago, they were dominant in 1A.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
Used to be whoever won the Albemarle Thomasville game in the
That
regular
one too.
season, they would
Yep.
actually lose in the playoffs to the other team. A lot of back and forth going between those two teams.
Yeah, that's back when Albemarle could play football.
Yeah, Albemarle's just for the heck of it. Lexington has fallen off the radar. They lost to a 1A South Davison team this year.
Yeah, Lexington. It's another one of those teams that I used to really, you'd watch every year.
Yeah, some good
So,
ones here. So, Deb, what else you got to talk about? What game are you going
well,
to go to this week?
so I'm taking a. Let me get back here to join you without leaning into everything. And I'll drop this off the screen. So I am going to go over to Providence Day School,
Oh,
and yeah, they're playing Raven Gap. So that's where I'm going.
is that a regional
The
final or something, or
It's state championship,
state championship?
and Providence Day started out slow. Providence Day School started out slow. Um, then they started winning. They have beaten Raven Gap this year. They beat them late. They're in the same conference. And they're the number one seed in the playoffs, and they get to host this game. So I'm going to go over and watch them. They got that's a program that I expect in the next year or two will be playing a more of a national schedule. Um, what about the announcement on that horrible House bill this week?
Which one
Um,
we're talking about?
HB 91.
HB 91. Is this state or federal?
This is the NCHSAA
Oh,
getting getting squashed. So, did you see the latest proposal
no, I haven't seen it.
changes? So basically, what they're saying is that the our government is saying that they are going to enter into a 4-year contract with some private entity to manage high school sports, so some nonprofit. And the NCHSAA is one that's being considered. Um, NCHSAA feels like I don't know how could you not have them managing sports? How do you bring in some group that's never done it and turn our So I'm not happy with it, Jim, at all. I'm not happy with the way this thing's going. I think it's a political. The whole thing is political. Politics to the max, and I'm afraid that it's going to lead to political picks of who runs said organization. And potentially gets the muddiness of politics getting involved into disputes, politicians, being able to influence disputes, appeals. So a politician within a certain area, Anson County, and an incident occurs, and they won't. They want it to go their way. I don't like it, man. I don't like where
it's heavy,
athletic.
very heavy-handed. And the
Yeah.
big thing is, I can't believe that they're trying to politicize the association. Uh, and I've heard people complain for a long time about Q Tucker, and I've dealt with Q for close to 10 years. I've never had any problems with her whatsoever. She's somebody that I respect, and she respects me, and never had an ill will to say whatsoever. Most of the coaches have told me that she's somebody that goes by the book. She's not going to play favorites. She's not going to bend rules. She can be
Hmm.
be very uh, what's the word for it? Not curt, but she says what's on her mind.
Direct.
Which yeah, and
It's
that
called being direct.
being
Yeah.
direct, I think that's the perfect way to say it. She's just very direct, and she doesn't sugarcoat things, and she doesn't need to. As soon as you start sugarcoating things, Once that sugar
Hmm.
taste goes off, people are like, "I want some more of that sugar. You need to do this for me." And she does not play favorites. And that's one of the things. The most asinine thing I ever heard of was that time on Talking Preps when you had that representative
Oh yeah,
that saying that coaches are scared of her. And I just like, you know what? That is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
it
Uh,
is. It most definitely is, and to think that they're scared of her. What she was saying is that they're scared that if they speak up, they will be, her heavy hand is going to keep them from making the playoffs, which our playoff system is merit based system.
right.
It's not a attaboy system. So
Yeah, it's not like you're the March Madness, you get a bunch of athletic directors together.
exactly, and you wonder how did that team make the tournament exactly,
Yeah,
where it's more subjective uh, in how you pick teams. Our playoff system, even with its flaws of using max preps, power rankings, etc., that was still an objective. Everything was objective. You knew going into the season what was required to make the playoffs. And if you were intelligent enough, you could know your playoff positions the entire season, what your opportunity was going to be to make the playoffs. And there was never a concern of someone saying, well, no, we're not going to let you, you're not going in. These guys are going in. That's not the way our playoff system works. So
right.
I'm really concerned that politicians are just involved with the I'm going to say very well ran
Oh, it's the most efficient of all.
NCHSAA.
It's the best
Huh?
one of all, best one in the United States. The
I
most
agree, but I think it could have one. It could have a
transparency.
change.
Yeah,
Transparency, exactly. If we had more transparency, and I'm okay with auditing,
yeah,
having some external entity audit them. I got no problem with that, but I don't want it married to our government. I don't like that.
yeah.
Um,
The thing that kind of gets me laughing about this whole stuff is all the money that the NCHSAA has, and they don't. I mean, there's no way that they can give up that purse string. So
hmm
I think they should be very careful. The people in Ross should be very careful about what they wish for
Yeah, because that
because
money's not going to. That's
yeah.
money's theirs.
And the other thing is
That's right.
they this that legislatures they have no control, no input whatsoever of the parochial schools because they're not state supported. Uh, I mean,
Right.
well, if I was the NCHSAA, it's like what, we'll have 5 or 6 teams in the play in our association. We'll divvy out the $45 million between the 4 schools or 5 schools.
So now the question there, Jim, would come up. I think of because that money was built off the back of the schools. Um, I could see a legal challenge to that money, but I don't know, because that's not my area of expertise of how you would divvy into the endowment and things. I don't know. I don't. I could see a legal battle, coming up that's the school's money, and since you're no longer the governing body, uh, some of that money is going to have to come back out to the schools.
It just it just seems like you could avoid the legal cost and a lot of stuff. It all kind of goes down to someone having a hissy fit several years ago about a team being left out of the playoffs,
Yep.
and they hear from a woman saying, "Well, you know what? This is the rule. Your team broke the rule, and you just need to sit in the corner and deal with it and put on your big boy pants." And I think some people have issues with a woman telling them what to do. And I also think there's a
Mhm.
little bit of that good old boy thing that might be going on. I don't know. It's just it's sometimes you hear
I'm
some
afraid
dog
it
whistles.
is. Yeah, I'm
I
afraid it is.
I hear some dog whistles in that too, because I'll hear people say that so and so is uppity, and I'm like, you know what? She and I talk a lot alike, and I've never been told uppity before either. But here I am, different sex, different
Yep.
race, and I hear those dog whistles. I don't think a lot of people hear themselves talk sometimes. Especially when you hear someone say, "Well, so and so is a credit to the race." I'm 50 years old, Dale. I've never been told I'm a credit in my race,
Right.
and people just don't know. People are just stupid. They have such low expectations for everybody except for what they consider their own uh, their own.
Superiority. Yep.
Yeah, there's a superiority involved in that, and just and I
So
think a
the
lot of it has to do with that. That's why the NCHSA's been under the
and I think
microscope.
the other thing that they said was that there will be changes made too, and one of the things is appeals process. And it just read when we had it on the on Talking Preps last night, and looking at the list of things, it just read of Anson County, the Anson County incident. And when I see changes to the appeals process, my flag went up that, okay, that means that what's going to happen is we're going to have state legislators getting involved in appeals.
Right.
And that's not their job. And it should not, they should not be involved in this, but it's going to happen. So the integrity of what we have is going to be hugely impacted by this.
And the thing that gets me also, they're talking about trying to basically outsource what the NCHSAA is doing to a private entity, which could be the NCHSAA. And I think they really need to go back and look at their contract law on this. I don't think they've done a very good job of that. I mean, yeah, I know what you're talking about, like about the endowment money and stuff like that, but I, I don't know. I think this is unprecedented. I think they're, I think the grudge is just so high on that right now that they feel like
Yep.
that
It's a
people will
grudge
creep.
match, exactly. It's got
Yeah,
nothing to do with making things right. It's all about see when the lady was on, her whole thing was about Charlotte Catholic.
yeah,
Her gripe is 100% about Charlotte Catholic, and she was 100% wrong on the technical or the objective facts of how that, why they're in the association, what they do. She wasn't just wrong. She just didn't know. Um, she doesn't understand so that's the thing that bothers me the most is she did not she was one of the voices, and she did not understand how the NCHSAA operates. She they don't understand the basis of what they were attacking. So it's a grudge thing. It's that bothers me tremendously. It would be in some ways, I'll say that I hope that if they don't pick the NCHSAA, I hope that legally they can't touch the NCHSAA's money. I don't
I
know
hope
what
that's
happens to the money, but maybe the NCHSAA and the NCISAA joined forces together. Um, but and they got that big kitty of money they can play with.
Oh, that's the thing about it is if I was the parochial schools, I'll just say, you know what, y'all can leave and just be between Catholic, Cardinal Gibbons, Christ the King, and Bishop McGinnis, like the four of those schools. I know there's a Catholic school over in Greenville. I think it's what John Paul or whatever. Add them
Mm-hmm.
to it. Let those five schools play with all that money. They still could they're still eligible because they're a non-boarding parochial school. So
Yeah.
what? There's no public schools. Those 5 schools could just make out like bandits.
So, and then you probably could get some of the, uh, yeah, charter schools could join it.
Yeah, charter schools could definitely. And
Charter
that's a
schools could easily join it.
and
And
the other thing that kind of makes me laugh though, the schools can elect not to be a member of the association. We've had two,
yeah,
we've had three state associations in the past, or regional associations
yeah.
in the past. I mean, there's nothing that prevents that from happening.
Wouldn't it be interesting if the school systems, each district, took it upon themselves to say no, and we're gonna become members of the NCHSAA or remain members, but we're not going to go with whatever association you set up. We're going to go with. I don't know what I would think they could do that. Um,
Well, the other thing I was going to mention though is although they're tweaking with it, I mean, is
yeah,
the governor going to sign this legislation? And if he
looks like
doesn't sign it, will it be is it veto proof? I mean,
it looks like it was stuck in, and
oh, is
as
it stuck in
pork.
the budgets?
It was stuck in as pork.
So is it part of the budget now, or
Yeah,
oh, that's the case. That's just stupid.
I think that's right. Yeah,
That's just it makes me sad. I know people are going to be beating their chest because the teacher's getting a 5% raise. It's not keeping up with inflation right now, but let's go ahead and beat our chest a little bit about that, and at the same time, we'll screw over the schools by
yeah,
uh, pulling them out of the association, and we get to select who we want to for 4 years. They're asking for it. It's be careful for what you ask for because you might actually happen. So anyway, that's crazy.
I could see. I could see. Like Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, if they couldn't go with if the NCHSAA is not named and they could not go with an NCHSAA association, that they just not take part in anything and have county championships and not take part in any state championship or any of that. Just completely step aside. There's a lot of people that would rather see that, would rather see a county championship because of how many Mecklenburg counties yearly, Mecklenburg County teams are always in the mix playing in the regional finals. And
I just checked. Both the Senate and the House passed it today. The
it did pass today. Okay.
House passed 71 to 43, and the Senate passed 41 to 7. So I have an issue with that. But go ahead and screw up the association, see what happens.
Yeah, I have an issue with it too. Screw up education-based athletics is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll become an advocate of schools not being a part of whatever it is they come up with.
Well, David Simmons just gave us a good question. Here is the state finals in Winston-Salem this year. I'm gonna have to check that out. I don't know if it
I
has it
don't
in the.
know.
Let's see the.
I for some reason I was thinking no. I'm thinking just Chapel Hill and Raleigh.
Because right now it says various cities. Let's see here.
I think
Yeah,
it's just Chapel Hill and Raleigh, but I could be wrong in that.
if I had to pick between the 4 schools, this is how I do when it comes to my unbiased or as unbiased as I can be about
Hmm.
how they host Wake Forest, Carter Finley,
Yeah,
Duke, UNC.
yeah. I tend to agree with that. Although
I think Duke State and Carolina are pretty close to each other. Wake Forest is so much
I'm
better than the rest.
I have a little issue with Duke just in how they've in the past they've scheduled basketball games on the
The
day of state championship, and it's made it hard. Um,
biggest problem with Duke is their
yeah,
parking is horrible.
exactly. So it's made that all difficult. Wake Forest by far, I think, is the best venue. I would like to see UNCC become a part of it. I'd like to see some games played here in the Charlotte metro area. It's just as central to the state as Raleigh is. And there's some other places around the state that it's kind of out of the way for most people, but ECU should be given an opportunity if they want it. Um,
I'm fine if we do regionals like in Greenville and places like that, and Charlotte.
yeah,
Um, I know Chapel Hill is not that far from the center of the state. I mean, technically, when I think of the center of the state, I think of Asheboro, Greensboro, that kind of area.
depends
Um,
on how you draw the lines and what you're looking at
right.
exactly. I mean, geographically, yes. Um,
Somewhere close to the zoo area. That's one reason why they had the zoo in the middle of the state.
right.
Uh, I would not mind having a game or two every so often at Charlotte. I think it'd be good to have it over at was it Simeon Stadium? Was it High
Yeah, up
Point?
at High Point. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Here's a question: do you think Shelby can beat Reedsville in the fourth round? I hope we find out. My biggest concern is Reedsville playing Hendersonville this week. That's my
Yeah,
only.
if Reedsville can make it to that game, which they should, but that's not a. They don't have a. I think they've got a lot tougher game than Shelby's got. Um,
I think Shelby would be favored against Reedsville. I mean, they'd get Shelby to have the home field advantage.
I
It's
they
going to be
can
close
beat
though.
they yeah they can beat them. I don't think they'd be favored, but it's I have to favor Shelby on that.
Well, that's why I was saying I think Shelby would be favored to beat Reedsville.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would. That's the way I would look. That's the way I would pull it as well.
yeah,
But they certainly could win that ball game. That's not a. It's not like there's going to a giant gap between them,
right.
but there is a gap. That's the problem, and how you bridge that gap.
I totally agree with you. I was hoping they'd have something in here on this NCHSAA site about where the championship games were going to be held.
For some reason, Jim, it's in my head that it's Chapel Hill and Raleigh, but Carter Finley and Keenan. Uh, I think that's right, but I may be wrong. I don't know why that's in my head, but
Yeah, it'd be fine if that was the case. I mean, I like going to I, I I like going to Wake Forest, but it's just a drive. It's a nice little drive for me. I live in Hillsborough, so I mean it's 15 minutes to get to or 20 minutes to get
sure.
to Chapel Hill, 20 minutes to get to Duke, 45
I
minutes to
just
get to Carter Finley.
I just like that venue
Oh, Wake Forest the
at
best.
Wake Forest. Yeah.
They have great field. They have the best. Their press boxes are the best. I think for high school football, they have the best atmosphere. I mean, Chapel
Well,
Hill's atmosphere is horrible for high school football.
and Carter Finley's just big, and it's just like while Wake Forest is big, and that's bigger than what we normally see for high schools. It's still it's kind of the right shape and not so big that a high school, the fans aren't lost in it.
And the
Um,
the fans are close to the field too. They're closer to the
yeah,
field at Wake
exactly.
Forest and that's the
So
problem I have with Duke. Their fans are too far away. Carolina's
yeah,
fans are way too far. State fans can be a little, I guess, are a little bit closer than Carolina Duke, but not by much. But Wake Forest, it feels like you're right on the fans are right on top of you.
I being a state lover, I'm Carter Finley's a great place, but it almost feels like games there you feel swallowed up, and at Wake Forest you feel more comfortable, if that makes sense. You don't feel like you're this little speck in a and
They're a good
I
host.
don't know. I just like that. I like that venue for high school much. For college, different story. That's a great venue for college games, but for high school, that's one of the best venues of the Division I schools. That's the best venue.
I always think about how they treat the press. Also, you go over to you go to Chapel Hill, you get some cardboard pizza. I
So,
think
that's the two things I'd say. Wake Forest and NC State treat the press fairly well with the food and all.
Wake Forest
Um,
is great. They had prime rib one time. I was like, oh my
yeah,
gosh,
exactly. Jim, I remember going to the oh gosh, that the last state championship game that Independence was in, that was at Duke, and they were remodeling the station. It was during the remodel,
right.
and they just set out. I don't know if you were there, but they set out a couple of pizzas. The temperature was in the 30s, low 30s. It's one of the few times you see a Tommy Knott's not wanting to be all short shorts and everything, no jacket and all that other kind of stuff. It was cold, and so they just set the pizza out on like board, concrete cinder blocks with some boards laid out over it, and the pizza's laid down on it. And here you go. They didn't even, there was nobody there. So they like dropped it and left. I've never been. I mean, I agree with you in say comparing um, Chapel Hill and say State and how they true food treat you, but trust me, that Duke experience is worse than anything I've encountered at all of them. it was it was pretty bad. Not pretty. It was very bad.
Yeah, Duke, they started back. I think it was 2018. They started back hosting again. They did a pretty good job in 2018. I'll give them credit
Did
for
they?
that.
Well, the state didn't want to deal with them because of what they were doing with the. I think a little bit that treatment, the way that they treated the game, that particular state championship game, in general, um, and them scheduling basketball games on the day, knowing that they were going to be hosting the state championship, and they go and schedule events knowing they don't have parking. Um, and I think all that's why they lost it.
Right.
Do you think Salisbury can beat Shelby? Mm,
I think it's possible. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's definitely possible.
I think it's possible too.
I
You
mean, it's
favor Shelby, I think, in that one, but it's one of those that you look at Salisbury and you say they could win that ball game.
to me it'd be like Oklahoma State, who's what eighth or ninth in the nation. Can they beat the number two team, Alabama?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's not probable. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Right. Low probability.
I'm gonna say probably if they played six times, Shelby would win five of them. And that sixth game would be something where Shelby just played awful. Um, Anyway, Dale, I'm losing my voice, man. It's great talking to you,
Okay.
like always, but I better
Yeah,
rest this sucker up.
no problem. I think I'm going to get back, and I've been producing some YouTube videos. Technical stress will win the state. Good chance. Just there. That's a good pick. That's one of those hard to pick against, right?
Oh, I agree. You know what I look at, like right now we're ready to play week 3, so I mean Dudley will still have to win 4 games, but I feel pretty good about them this week, and I think every week it's going to get closer and closer and closer, and where it's the
Yeah.
any
I,
teams you can lose just because of the margin of error, but Dudley's playing a tough number 11 squad in Kings Mountain, so
yeah.
I
I,
know.
I think for Crest to make it to the state championship, that's a tough road.
Yeah.
They all have a tough road. All of them do. Has a tough road to get there, to get to the regionals. And I'm talking about in the West. They all have a tough road, I think. Dudley is, I think, the favorite. Crest is probably the second favorite. Um, I, I I don't envy Dudley with their game this week. They they don't if they don't bring their game to that game, then Kings Mountain come out of there with a win. Dudley brings their game, then no.
So looking at the top half of the West bracket between Crest, North Davison, Forest View, and South Point, I think Crest is the best of those 4 teams. Uh,
Hmm. I agree.
Dudley, Statesville, that's going to be a tough one here. Maiden football has a good quarterback. I heard that too.
Yeah, and Maidens, hey, they did something last week. I didn't. I just did not see that big of a win coming. Uh, so Maiden's playing good football at the right time of the year to be playing it.
Oh, I just got. I think 20 years ago today is when Bobby Bowden got arrested. You remember that?
I do.
It was for child abuse. After that Clemson game, beating the hell out of his son, beat him like 56 to
I know
nothing.
what you're talking about. That was I remember it. There were a lot of jokes made about that.
That was
That's right. I remember that, Jim.
whatever
You didn't.
happened
You
to.
didn't. You weren't getting me on that one. Yeah, I
What,
remember that one.
what was it with Tommy Bowden? I mean, he started out. I thought he was going to be
I
a trend center, and
I thought he was going to be. Yeah.
I thought the same
Yeah.
thing with his brother Terry. Terry started out just setting the world on fire with Auburn, and
Yep.
there was I think, some personality issues that had a lot to do with Terry finding the ESPN sports booth or wherever he was, and but neither one of those guys had the charisma or I think just the overall patience as their father did.
Yeah, and I think their father he's a good coach, good organizer.
Good man.
Um, I'm friends with a fellow that played. He played for them. He played for Florida State, and he played for the Chargers. And when Bobby Bowden, not James Coleman, he was a big, big, big fullback. I don't know if you remember him. Would have been, when did he play? 2004, 5, 6, somewhere in that time frame, something
Hmm.
like that. Anyway, um, when Bobby Bowden passed, the things he was, he started posting about all of his experiences and what he had learned, and just amazing how much. And then he's friends, obviously, with a lot of other players, former players. So I got to see a lot of what they had to say about Bobby Bowden. It was pretty, actually, very impressive to hear the things beyond football.
Right.
That how deeply he touched his players. It just appeared to be more than most coaches do.
Right.
More like a father to them than just a coach. Just a coach or a good coach. Yeah, you might invite him to your wedding, but he's the kind that you invite to the christening and to everything else, and would have him come to every event you got.
Right.
So, yeah, good man, good coach. So when you first brought that up, the first thing that popped in my head was no, man, no, and I wasn't thinking just at the immediate point when you brought it up about the child abuse thing. But the first thing popped in my head was, oh man, let's not get on the dead man.
Yeah.
But then it dawned on me very quickly. Oh yeah, he's talking about whooping his son into the ground. And
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, that Bobby Bowden, though, when he first joined the ACC, I couldn't stand him. It had nothing to do with his personality. Actually, it had maybe a little bit with his personality. It was just you wanted to hate him so much, but he was so nice it made you even madder about it. I mean,
yeah, exactly. He's kind of that. He's the guy that pounds you to death and is nice to you as he does it, and afterwards he was that kind of a guy.
I think they started at 92, 93, 94. They swept the ACC. 95, they lost to Virginia. Then I think they lost to NC State in like 98 or something. And 98 or 99, one of those
Was it
years.
Virginia? See, I thought NC State was the first team to beat them.
Virginia beat them in 95. And then you had Carolina beat them in 2001. But, I mean, for the longest time, Virginia just dominated.
Oh no, no doubt, no doubt.
Hey, Dale, I better go. My internet's acting up here, so I better go.
Okay.
It was great chatting with everybody, and
well, yeah, Salisbury has a Georgia player on defense. Yeah, you play those teams that have SEC players. That's something else. Yeah, we got four people on. That's great, people. So, Jim, where did you say you're going to Friday night?
I'm going to go and probably watch Millbrook and Rollsville play.
Okay. Oops, I'll get back in my screen here.
So,
and I'll be at Providence Day watching the Raven Gap.
Sounds good. Well, I hope you enjoy. And from everybody that's listening, from Jim West and Dale Ross, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Take care of yourself. Dale, good talking to you.